Have you heard that Japan is one of the safest places with very little crime? That's true. However, you might get scammed without even realizing it.
So in this video, we at Howzit Japan, based on our experience meeting over 700 overseas travelers per year, will clearly introduce 6 scams and misunderstandings that tourists actually encounter when traveling in Japan and how to avoid them.
Some of them might feel scams to foreigners, but they are actually part of Japanese culture. I will introduce those too. After watching this video, you will understand all the scams that Japan travelers fall for, so you won't end your fun trip with bad feelings. Alright, let's go. Let's hold it. First, I will introduce fake monk donations that you see at temples and shrines. At tourist spots like Sensoji Temple or temples around Kyoto, people dressed as monks and try to approach you and hand you bracelets or charms or just stand there collecting money.
This is a typical trick. They are actually scams taking money under the pretense of donation to the temple. Some cases have been reported where they say, "I will guide you around the grounds," and then demand high guide fees afterward.
Real monks don't come talk to you. They don't try to sell you anything, and they don't demand money.
They stand quietly in place and don't draw people's attention more than necessary. That's their true form. On the other hand, fakes are completely different. They approach you first and try to hand you objects like bracelets or charms and bring up money in that flow.
In other words, if they come to you and hand you something and talk about money, at that point, you can judge it as a scam without a problem. However, there are monks who actually do alms begging.
Alms begging is a practice where monks go out in the street with bowls, stand quietly while chanting sutras, and receive food offerings from people. The act of putting money or food in the bowl is called donation in Buddhism and is considered a good deed.
In Japan, general begging is prohibited by law.
But alms begging is recognized as a legitimate religious practice. It's done regardless of season, and sometimes you can see monks continuing their practice even in harsh cold.
Next is a scam that I want viewers to be most careful about. What you especially need to watch out for in nightlife districts are called rip-off bars.
In Shinjuku's Kabukicho or Roppongi, touts standing on the street might approach you in English with sweet words like "we have a cheap all-you-can drink" or "first time is free." If you follow them out of curiosity and enter the shop, you might enjoy eating and drinking normally at first, but getting an unbelievably high bill at checkout is a typical trick.
Different from the ads say, cheap or free is a lie.
The menu is set at outrageous prices, and there are reported cases where you are ultimately charged hundreds of thousands of yen, sometimes thousands of dollars. If you refuse to pay, there are very dangerous cases where bouncer-like people take you to an ATM and force you to pay semi-forcibly. In even more malicious cases, sleeping pills or similar drugs are mixed into your drink from the start, and while you are unconscious, your credit card or cash is stolen. By that time, you realize it. All your money is gone. You can't move.
The biggest point to avoid such damage is not to accept the invitation in the first place. Even if strangers tout you, politely decline with a smile and leave the area. Thinking this might become a travel memory is very dangerous.
Of course, most touts are simply bringing customers to izakaya pubs, but strictly speaking, touting is prohibited, so going to shops you research yourself is safer.
If you really want to enjoy nightlife, it's important to go with someone who you trust, or visit after researching shops with good reputations in advance. Don't follow people who stop you on the street. It's the safest way. For researching, look at Tabelog, a site that Japanese people use it.
You can see reviews and menu photos, so if you check both Google ratings and Tabelog, you won't make mistake.
We at Howzit Japan offer fully private customer tours.
If you want to go to local Japanese izakaya or good shops together, please check out the homepage in the description.
You will feel local Japan, and of course, we won't take you to rip-off bars. Next is unlicensed taxi operations called white cabs. Be careful of drivers who call out, taxis, or I will take you cheap at the airports or on downtown areas.
In Japan, transporting customers for a fee in general vehicles without operating permits is illegal, but in recent years, white cab operations have not slowed down, taking advantage of the rapid increase in foreign tourists. For example, at Haneda Airport, cases have been reported of white cab drivers approaching foreign tourists to offer rides and charging outrageous fares. One Chinese driver testified to earning 1 million yen per month through illegal transportation, and the airport police are struggling with enforcement.
Actually, in this news, the most ever 130 cases were cracked down this year. Here's how to identify them.
Official Japanese taxi vehicles have green license plates, but white cabs, as the name suggests, operate with white license plate private cars. Remember this as a way to identify them.
For safety, don't take white cabs that come up to you.
When you need transportation, board from official taxi stands at the airports or stations, or use officially permitted services like Go or Uber. Also, limousine buses and trains from Japan's major airports to downtown are safe and convenient. Like in this news, you also need to be careful when going from Tokyo to Mount Fuji.
If we won't go from Tokyo to Mount Fuji,
Howzit Japan's Mount Fuji tour is also recommended. We handle everything from booking arrangements to dispatching guide drivers. So if you are interested,
check out the link in the description below. Next is pickpocketing and theft targeting travelers. In Japan, lost items often return to their owners, so people tend to think the possibility of theft is low. However, in crowded places, pickpockets still happen, and bags can get stolen.
especially in places packed with tourists like Senso Shenpo or Shibuya Scramble Crossing, pickpocketing damage can occur just like overseas. Cases have been reported of wallets being stolen while travelers are distracted by their suitcase on trains or in stations.
As a Japanese person, I've never experienced pickpocketing or theft. But since they are actually reported as incidents, just don't be completely careless.
As a countermeasure, most damage can be prevented by carefully managing valuables. Specifically, put wallets and passport in zippered inner pockets, hold shoulder bags in front of your body, carry backpacks in front instead of behind, and always keep them on you. By the way, it's also a famous story that lost wallets and phones sometimes come back in Japan. I've actually had lost wallets found, and even if you forget something on a train, if you go to the station office, it's often found quickly.
Even if you lose something in Japan, no one will take it and it might be delivered to a police box. So don't give up when you lose something. Believe in Japan! Haha! From here, I will talk about things that are not scams but come from Japanese culture and business customs. However, if you don't know about them in advance, the travelers might feel, oh, I'm tricked. First, about Otoshi.
Otoshi is a charge for items you didn't order that often occurs at izakayas. It's often provided when you order drinks, and a charge of a few hundred yen per person, usually 300 to 500 yen, is added to your bill. If you don't know about this culture for the first time, you might feel like it's a scam, thinking I'm being charged for food I didn't order.
However, Otoshi is a custom established in Japan as consideration not to make customers wait.
It's a system where a small dish is provided so you can have a small bite while waiting for your food to come, and the table charge is received in return. There is no necessary bad intent. Some shops clearly state table charge blah 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 yen in advance, but shops that take it for granted as a custom often don't bother explaining, so it may seem unfriendly to people from overseas.
As a countermeasure, it's best to enjoy Japanese izakaya culture while understanding an Otoshi custom.
If you absolutely can't accept it, one method is to choose shops without otoshi from the start, like bars that say no charge. In any case, if you understand that it's not a fee to trick you, you can enjoy eating out in Japan without excessive anxiety.
However, some shops have quite high otoshi charges, so check the otoshi price before choosing an izakaya and you won't lose out. Next is about dwell pricing. This also isn't a scam, but it's a system where you will lose out if you don't know about it. In recent years, the movement of applying different prices to foreign visitors at some restaurants, some tourist facilities has a topic on social media.
For example, at a certain buffet restaurant in Tokyo's Shibuya, it was discovered that they said all-you-can-eat price is 1,100 yen higher for foreign tourists than for Japanese people, determining this by whether they could speak Japanese or by showing resistance cards at entry.
The shop explained that dealing with foreigners take time and effort, and labor costs increase, so it's unavoidable. But it became a topic on social media as discrimination.
Also, a certain tonkatsu shop, there was a controversial example where they announced we will add a 10% service charge for foreign tourists. It's understandable that travelers feel being made to pay more than others. Isn't that a scam? In Japan, for example, there are also systems that benefit tourists like tax-free shopping. What's important is transparency, and some opinions say that if Japan clearly establishes rules and implements them, it can be called unfair across the board. However, currently, there are many different responses at each shop, so it's a situation that easily causes confusion and distract for travelers.
If you are charged more because you are a foreigner, stay calm and ask why. If the explanation is unclear or doesn't feel right, it's better not to use the shop.
Also, asking for Japanese menu is a good countermeasure. If you get to, you can immediately see if there is a price difference, so this is a tip worth knowing that won't make you lose out.
Basically, at any shops throughout Japan, displayed price is a price you pay. So don't worry too much. It's enough to have the mindset of just in case. There are cases like this.
ATM Trap. Last, I will introduce a point about ATMs and currency exchange where you will lose out if you don't know. First, please remember that airport exchange rates are basically high. If you exchange money at the airport right after arriving, while it's convenient, you are often exchange at quite an unfriendly rate, and you end up losing out as a result. In Japan, there are still some shops that don't accept credit cards, but recently, convenience stores, restaurants, and many tourist spots have come to accept credit cards. Therefore, you don't need to carry large amounts of cash. That said, just in case, I recommend having 5,000 yen in cash per person. That's because at small restaurants, food stores, and local shops, it might be cash only. If you need cash, rather than forcing yourself to exchange at the airport, using 7-Eleven ATMs or using currency exchange shops in town is often more reliable rate-wise. 7-Eleven ATMs especially support cards issued overseas, and the operation is simple, making them an easy-to-use option for travelers. For other ways not to lose money, I've summarized them in this video, so check it out if you are interested. To summarize and say it again, Japan is a very safe and comfortable country for travelers. Actually, violent crimes targeting tourists are extremely rare, and if you follow manners and spend your time, many people enjoy their trip without trouble. Still, series of small scams and troubles like those I introduced today do exist. But these are all things you can avoid if you know about them in advance. If you do that, your Japan trip will surely be a wonderful experience as you expected. No, even better than that. Bye! How's it?